Dear friends, welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to reflect upon this phenomena, which seems to be quite rampant in the international system, where you are using courts to go after your political opponents. So, if you recall, in India, Rahul Gandhi was disqualified for insulting the entire Modi caste. And he was sentenced to 2 years in prison, and which is still pending, and he was disqualified from the parliament, which has now just been restored by the Indian Supreme Court by staying that order. You also are familiar with the fact that about four indictments have already been. Trump has been put under four different indictments, and the possibilities are that one of them might stick and he will be disqualified from probably holding public office. And now Imran Khan has been arrested. He has been convicted of theft from gifts that government receives. It's called the Tosha Khana, and basically taking government property, selling it, and making money. He's been fined $355. That should give you an idea of the size of his theft. And not only has he been sentenced to prison for 3 years, but he's also potentially disqualified from competing elections, which are due in October or November. So I want to basically talk about Imran Khan and what that means for Pakistan, but I do want to talk about the other two cases also, because I think that it is a trend which is not very healthy. It is part of one of the features of what we call as receding democracy or declining democracy. Even though the American case going after Trump legally is in the interest of democracy, but I will try to argue that it's not all kosher. But before I proceed with these reflections, please do the needful. Subscribe to Khanversations if you have not already done so. I can't wonder why you're not already a subscriber, but also think of becoming a member and supporting Khanversations. So when you are looking at the video, you can just press the button called join, and you can support Khanversations by joining and becoming a member of Khanversations. I welcome the recently those who have become members of Khanversations. Thank you very much for your support. Let's talk first about Imran Khan. For the last year and a half, Pakistan has been in a terrible, terrible state. It is facing enormous, it's experiencing what people call polycrisis, multiple crises. It has an environmental crisis. It is a target. I mean, it suffered from one of the worst floods in its history. 1/3 of the country was underwater, and over $30 billion of losses were incurred. And we really don't know what's happening, what the government has done in the past year or so to take care of the negative economic, financial, and humanitarian consequences of that flood. There's not much discussion about it. Pakistan is suffering from a security crisis. It's under attack from its own people. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, this Islamist group, which wants to establish an Islamic caliphate inside Pakistan, like ISIS did in Iraq, has been incessantly attacking Pakistan, attacks outside Islamabad, in Karachi, in Peshawar, and other parts of the country. Hundreds of people have died in the past few months as a result of this. So the country is embroiled in a civil war in a way. And on top of this, it is going through perhaps its most a serious financial crisis. It has shortage of foreign currency. It is unable to pay off its loans. Its debt has gone over $140 billion. It has struggled to get a few $1 billion from IMF so that it does not go into default. So in spite of all of this, on one side, you've had this Imran Khan tamasha, a kind of an ongoing crisis on a daily basis until the military essentially conducted a soft coup. And I'm not talking about the time when they removed him. I'm talking about the time when they really came after his political party. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, PTI, has been completely devastated to some extent. Most people have left his party and started other parties or abandoned politics. Some are in hiding, and there are a few who are holding out, including Imran Khan himself. So in many ways, this soft coup of the Pakistani army had already marginalized Imran Khan, but he continues to persist. And as after that, this case has finally stuck. Apparently, there are 200 cases against Imran Khan, and surely most of them would be bogus, but there might be some validity to some of those cases. Because corruption is rampant in Pakistan. And even though Imran Khan may personally not be corrupt, even though he has been convicted on a personal corruption case, the members of his party and his political allies are definitely quite corrupt. There's no doubt about that. So he goes off to jail for 3 years. He probably will come out much faster than that if he makes a deal or promises to leave the country. But he is also called for protests. So as of now, we have to see the Pakistani military probably is going to take very strict action. The last time Imran Khan supporters went on a rampage and attacked military installations, many of the people who had committed those crimes, they probably thought they would get away with it, but the military not only found some of them, but is prosecuting them in military courts, basically court-martialing civilians. So I have a feeling that recent past conduct of the Pakistani military might act as a deterrence against what remaining supporters Imran Khan has. So hopefully there is not much street violence and a civil war-like situation in Pakistan going forward. I do want to share a few thoughts about Imran Khan. I saw his interview, the one that he gave to BBC to Hard Talk a couple of days ago, and it was quite shocking and surprising on two levels. One, he completely thinks that he's completely innocent of anything at all. And he has done nothing wrong, and he has been targeted for, I guess, for his purity. But the thing that surprised me most was that in all his answers, he kept talking about Islam, about democracy and liberal values, freedom of speech and freedom, as if when he was in charge of the government, he was in charge, or he was like an advocate of freedom or democracy. Pakistan's democratic credentials suffered under Imran Khan. The freedom of speech suffered. Journalists were in deep trouble under Imran Khan. He towed the line of the same military. He came to power because of the same military that he's now targeting and attacking. So the thing with Imran Khan is, unlike other politicians who adjust and accommodate the enormous influence of Pakistani military, after 2 or 3 years, I guess power went to his head, and he thought he could ideologically depart from the military's ideology and do other things. But the point that I want to make is that when he was campaigning before 2018 and when he was governing after that, he kept talking about he talked about, how should I put it, of an Islamic state based on the Medinan constitution. But now he doesn't talk about it at all, especially when he's doing interviews in English. When he talks to the West, he talks about democracy, and he talks about freedom, and he talks about slavery as the absence of freedom and democracy. But when he talks in Urdu, and when he talks about he talks about Risalat Medina, he talks about replicating the model of the Prophet. I don't know why he doesn't say the same thing in English, that I wanted to establish an Islamic state, but the kind that was practiced in the state of Medina, which he defined when he defined it in English as a welfare state. I have written a book called Islam in Good Governance, in which I discuss extensively the idea of the constitution of Medina and the kind of democratic governance that could emerge from it. But while he was rhetorically using the word Medina for his governance model, he did not show any examples of the prophetic model of governance when he was in charge. So I guess he has a highly inflated idea of himself and sees himself as potentially a messiah who can save Pakistan from its ills. But unfortunately, I think he is part of the problem and not the solution. He could have done something really positive for Pakistan. He had 3 to 4 years, and I can tell you the only thing that he achieved was trying to make Pakistan more anti-American, more anti-West, and that was one of the reasons why the military turned against Imran Khan. Going forward, I hope that two things will happen: that there will be peace in the streets of Pakistan, one, and number two, that there will be some semblance of fair and free elections whenever they are held in October or November. I have no hopes. I think the Pakistani military will once again determine who wins that election and who comes to power. But it would be interesting to see if Pakistani government would invite international observers in Pakistani elections, etc., to observe the elections and see how fair and free they are. So my suggestion to the caretaker prime minister or Shehbaz Sharif, who is still the prime minister for the next 2-3 days, that please bring a robust group of international observers from all parts of the world, Japan, even India, US, Europe, Africa, people with unimpeachable personalities who can then at least observe and give a verdict on whether the elections were fair or unfair. Looking at the other sides, so one of the travesties of Pakistan has been the politicization and instrumentalization of the judiciary. You could see how some courts did help Imran Khan and how other courts were not, how some judges were pro-Imran Khan and some judges who were anti-Imran Khan. So basically, even the judiciary had become partisan. So nobody in Pakistan, I think today, believes that Pakistani judiciary is above the law or above politics, and that there is some integrity and credibility to Pakistani judiciary. So this battle to essentially by a government to disqualify a very strong and threatening opponent in Imran Khan has been achieved through the weaponization of judiciary. The second case that I want to look at is India's case of Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi, in one of his speeches, said something which basically he impugned the last name Modi and said people who have the name of Modi seem to be corrupt. And as a result of that, a Bharatiya Janata Party member of the state assembly in Gujarat, who had changed his name to Modi. He was not actually a Modi. He didn't belong to that caste, or maybe he belongs to the caste, but he took the last name Modi, and then he sued Rahul Gandhi for defamation. And surprisingly, the courts in Gujarat, Modi's home state, where he comes from, basically gave him the maximum punishment of 2 years, which automatically disqualified Rahul Gandhi from being a member of the parliament, and he was thrown out not only from the parliament but also from his residence. Even though there are other politicians who have retired more than 5-6 years ago who still keep their housing. At that time, I had said in one of my shows, and a lot of people said that this is surprising that the court has basically gone to the most extreme punishment possible, because it met the benchmark for disqualification from the parliament. I can guarantee you, if it was 3 years of jail time or punishment required to disqualify Rahul Gandhi, the courts in Gujarat would not have gone, because the maximum punishment was 2 years, and so they gave him the maximum punishment. But even at that time, most commentators, including me, felt that this would be restored. This thing would not stand up to scrutiny when it eventually got to the Indian Supreme Court, and the Indian Supreme Court did not disappoint. They came out and they found that this was an excessive punishment. There was no justification for throwing every book at Rahul Gandhi. And so this judgment from Gujarat courts were stayed. And so the disqualification is obviously now a moot issue with Rahul Gandhi. But the most important thing that the Indian judiciary system has been successful. It did not fail its citizens. A lot of us thought that, yes, there might be state capture of the judiciary in the state of Gujarat. And the Supreme Court also made note of it, the Indian Supreme Court, by saying there are lots of amusing and interesting judgments coming out of the state of Gujarat. These are the same courts which have done other things in the past, which are very curious. So we all knew that the Indian Supreme Court would do the right thing, and they did the right thing. So in that sense, the contrast between India and Pakistan can be seen. The judiciary in Pakistan, I think, has failed. Pakistan has failed the Pakistani system, has failed the Pakistani citizens. It does not have any integrity or independence anymore. It has become an instrument of the state, or actually the instrument of the military establishment in Pakistan. It has, I mean, the state capture of these so-called independent institutions in Pakistan has become, shall we say, complete. Whereas in India, I'm very happy and pleased to say that that has not happened. And the Indian Supreme Court has stood up to the test and stood against basically the decisions coming from the Gujarat court. So in that sense, I think this is good news for India. Now, as far as the United States is concerned, so basically Pakistan failed, India passed. Now, what's happening with the United States? In the United States, I think that the jury is still out there, but the country is very divided, and I can tell you that Republicans today will tell you that the government of Joe Biden is essentially using the Department of Justice as a weapon against Donald Trump, trying their best and hardest to either hurt him in his political campaign. He's still the most popular Republican out there, leading his next competitor by nearly 40 points in the Republican polling. And with Biden, he's still neck and neck, 43, 41, 42, 44%. So he's lagging behind by just 1 or 2 points in the national polling if the elections were to happen today. So this incessant, this is the 4 indictments have already been made against Donald Trump, exhausting his resources and time. Yes, he does deserve to be prosecuted for what he did on January 6th, but you can see from all the cases that everything is being tried to ensure that Donald Trump is out of the political system. Now, I see no corruption except enthusiasm and excitement, and of course, a determination by the government to go after Donald Trump. I'm not saying that he's innocent at all when the guy is perhaps the worst possible president any country could ever have had. And certainly not in the interest of democracy or human rights or values. He is racist, he's undemocratic, he's authoritarian, and he's corrupt. Make no mistake about it. But the American courts, the priority with which they're going after him clearly says that there is a clock, and that clock is the 2024 elections. And if half the country believes that the system and the judiciary is not being fair, then it is not Trump who's damaging Americans' democracy, but the Department of Justice and its zealous prosecution of Donald Trump could be one of the reasons why the faith in the American judiciary would go away and undermine America's democracy anyway. And this is further compounded when you contrast it with the way the judiciary and the Department of Justice has operated in the case of Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. They have been very slow to act. It has been taking years to prosecute him. And during the elections, both the media, the mainstream media, as well as the government institutions pretended as if there was nothing to what Hunter Biden has done. And now the plea deal has failed, a plea deal which very, very clearly was a sweetheart deal. If Hunter Biden was not the president's son, he would be in jail right now. I can tell you that. If he was a black man, oh my God, he would probably have been in prison. Hunter Biden did not pay taxes in millions of dollars. Someone else apparently paid for him. He says it's a loan. He would not have got that loan. He would not have got whatever that is, donation to pay off his dues and penalties to the IRS if he was not the president's son. Why would anybody? There are lots of people out there who are going to jail or who are in trouble because they didn't pay taxes. These unknown people are not coming forward to pay their taxes. Even the fact that someone paid for his taxes and penalties is an example of how this whole case points to corruption. And the fact that there's such a sweetheart deal was offered to him, no jail time for everything that he did, is shocking. Please go and read all the accusations that are made and look at those media sources which are pro Democrats. Don't read all the rubbish that is coming from the right. Read what New York Times and what CNN are now saying about the details of what he was charged with, and then look at the deal that he made. If the judge had not scrutinized and found enormous inconsistencies in the deal, Hunter Biden would have got away with it. So that thing is still in courts, and we will see what happens both on the Trump side as well as on the Biden side. But it is very clear that even in the United States, the oldest democracy in the world, where we preach democracy, we teach rule of law to everybody. We insist on a global order which is rule-based and a domestic order which is democratic and constitutional. How American judiciary comes out at the end of maybe a year and a half, we will know. So while I hope that Imran Khan's arrest brings some kind of calm, it's not going to improve the democratic credentials of Pakistan. Imran Khan was neither for or when it suited him, he would use democracy, and when he was in power, he certainly was undemocratic. He was more and more autocratic, and he would have, if he had stayed in power, Pakistan would look like China's, Xi Jinping's China, undoubtedly by now. So, but I hope that there is peace, there's no street violence, and hopefully they have a reasonably fair elections, an election that at least sends the signals to all Pakistanis that at least we are now mending and coming back to what we were before all of this mess started. So this is my final word, that the judiciary in Pakistan has failed. The judiciary in India, congratulations, did a great job, has passed. And the one in the United States, it's still in the examination and the results is not yet out. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host. Thank you for watching Khanversations. And if you have not subscribed to it by now, please do so. Remember to ring the bell icon so that you get notifications, and share this video with all your friends. Also like the video, because once you like videos, it goes up in priority on YouTube's algorithm. So thank you very much. This is Muqtedar Khan, and I will see you until next time. And until next time, think about the importance of fairness in legal systems. If we don't have confidence in our courts, there is no way we will have confidence in our government and in our country. Thank you very much.